Hey students, I'm here to walk you through exercise 1B in the first module. And what you're going to want to do is launch Photoshop again, and you're going to do a file, open. Last time we did a file, new document. Now we're going to do a file, open. And then you're going to navigate out to this little image. Looks like there's a bunch of Skittles or some type of chocolate covered or colored M&Ms of some sort. Go ahead and say open. Exercise 1B is the file name. Okay, and now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to unlock that image. Just click on the lock. I'm getting comfortable with the workspace a little bit. We now know what the layers are. We've opened an image from Photoshop. And now we're going to choose that lasso tool that I talked about before that I really find interesting. It allows us to make selections, and that's sort of what we're going to be testing today, making selection. And go ahead and click right on that. Okay, and then at the top of that control option, or the layers, or control panel option bar, you want to make sure that there's a small feather. This says 0 right now, and it is context sensitive, the workspace. So if I'm on the move tool, then whatever I can do with the move tool is now showing up at the top control panel bar. And let's see, if I go back to that lasso tool, watch it change. It now changes to allow me everything and anything that the lasso tool might want to do. So that's called context sensitive. And if you want to change that feather anywhere between 1 and 3, I'm just going to add it. I'm just going to make it right in the middle and add a 2. Okay. And then while we're on that selected layer, you want to make sure that that's still selected. Some people might have other layers on there and stuff. Go ahead and click and draw the lasso around the area of the candy that we do not want. I'm going to keep the bowl visible with the candy, and you want to start at a point that you're familiar with. Like, you don't want to just do this, and the tool gets a little weird. So when you work with it, you want to close that tool to make the selection. And if you make a mistake, just do a Control D or a Command D to deselect. Okay, so if I do this and I can't close it for some reason, it'll kind of want to close itself. And if you don't want that, you can inadvertently do that. Sometimes just do a Control D to deselect, or Command D on the Mac. So go ahead and you can start right here at the below the bowl, and it's going to feather it. So you don't want it to feather too far in. Okay, I'm just going to go around that whole space and close it. And it does close it for you. Now you notice that I purposely sort of didn't get it perfect because believe me, your freehand really is tough to get areas perfect like that. So now what you have is the whole outer area of the bowl selected. And we did that for a reason. We want to eliminate the background a little bit. And many times you'll have photos that have a lot of clutter in the background that you really want to minimize and eliminate and create your own background. Make it sort of blur. Maybe you want to make it out of focus, an area of the photo out of focus, or something of that nature. So what you want to do next is, as long as you've closed it, this selection looks closed and it looks like it's active. What you want to do next is you want to either, this is a quick way to do it, delete that area, hit delete. It actually eliminates that background entirely. Now, what I notice about when I deleted that is I think it's too sharp and I want to make that feather a little high. Everyone will be working on in a different way. So we're going to take a look at this image, and what I think is happening is it might be a little too big. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Command Z. We want to make sure that that image is very small so the feather looks bigger, because we could bump up the feather by 50. But first we're going to go to image size real quick just to check. And sure enough, the resolution is 300. I'm going to go ahead and do 72. Okay. 72 changes that resolution. And I'm going to say, okay. All right. So we're a little off the beaten path here of the instructions. That's okay. Now you're going to understand a little bit more how that feather relates to the bowl. So now I'm going to do that again. Go all the way around. I don't have to be perfect about it. And then I'm going to see that feather. I'm going to do a delete. Look at what it did. It really applied a feather and made that feather very, very big. So I'm going to do a Command D. And now I've got this weird looking bowl. It's very fuzzy. I'm going to do a Command Z to undo. I'm going to do that more than once. And you can, in your history panel, if you bring up your window history panel, the nice thing about this is you can see all the things that you've done in your history. And you can go back to something that was done before, or you can delete moves that you've done. Like if I want to go back to my old image size, I would delete this image size right there. That's to be explored further in a future module. But go ahead, and I want you to delete this. This is the functions that we want to perform for this exercise. So I just deleted the background. Another thing that you can do is you can go to Edit, Fill. So it'll automatically delete what you have, or it will fill it with the foreground, which is here, or the background color. So you want to make sure that you have these foreground and background colors set up correctly, because if I fill it with the foreground color, it will fill with the red that I have here. So I'm going to do a Control Z or Command Z on the Mac to undo. And right now I'm going to go ahead and do an Edit, Fill. But what I want to do is I'm going to fill that with the background color. Okay, the opacity 100%, say. So it filled with the white, which is, I sort of want that. Okay, and it's not super pretty, that's okay. I have areas that I need to delete, so you can also do this. Close that and do an Edit, Fill. We're just getting comfortable right now. We're going to fill that with background color. So see, again, Command D to deselect. Another way to do it too, you can do, I believe deselect is under, it was under Edit. Gotta find it. So I'll do another one here. Get that more better. There you go. Edit. Fill. It kind of defaults to background color. I'll say okay. Yay! So we have a little bit of a feather. My bowl looks pretty bad. I can fix that later when we learn how to clone. But for right now, I'm going to use the type tool because I want to add something to this image. I select the type tool. And note, I'm going to go ahead and click right here. And it automatically brings up some Greek copy. And it's a very large Greek copy because I'm working in a small digital format. So what you want to do is you want to maybe change this from 300, change it down to 100. Some of you might just get a blinking cursor. If that works for you, then just make sure that you choose a font. And if I go into my type tool and I highlight, you can see the fonts here. You can make sure that you get the details of the fonts in the way that you want, and that all you need to do there is go to Window, Character. The character panel pops up, and you can manipulate little details of your character, your word, your lines, your leading, your kerning, all of that right in here. Okay, so what I'm going to require for this is, of course, this is on all caps. I'm going to select that because I don't want all caps. So in the character panel, you can work a lot with details of the character. So I want you guys to type in a few sentences. And then if you notice this is going off the artboard, go to your move tool and move it in. Go back to your type tool, you know, and manipulate. Maybe you're wondering, oh boy, what do I do? Well, manipulate a little bit. Go between that move tool and the type tool. Now, when you're ready and you've got your few sentences typed in here, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rasterize the type, okay? So rasterizing the type makes it uneditable so that you cannot go back in and edit. So make sure what you have typed in is what you want. And then make sure you're on that type. Notice the T in the layers panel. Let me move this away. So you got the T in the layers panel, and you want to rasterize the type. You will go to Layer, Rasterize Type. Notice the T goes away, and now you have Photoshop treating this as artwork. Okay, and you can still move it around and stuff, but you really can't flow your type. You can't give it a right rag or anything like that. You've got to keep it the way it is. So you can always do it again if you need to. Go to the type tool and click on. But that's sort of what I want you to practice in this exercise, is adding type and understanding, you know, where to go for type changes, which is the character panel, understanding how it works with the layers and how you can make a selection. All right, so you can go to layer styles when you do type in your layer styles are always important. Layer styles, it's up here. Layer styles, layer style. And then you can go to blending options, and then you can also get this same menu. I don't go this way, that's why it took me a little bit. But you can add a bevel and emboss, and I want you to add an inner shadow. Select 2 or 3 of these, and then say okay, and look, and it gives you a different effect. And then it shows in here what you've done, so I know that you've done it. Okay, the other thing you can do is if you double click on your thumbnail, the layer styles pop right up. That's the way I do it, and that's much easier, okay? So make sure in your type you can add it before or after you've added the type. It's up to you, but I want to see 3 layer styles. So layer styles, and then what you want to do is save this as a layered file. In our last exercise, we flattened. This one we want to save as a layered file, which is a PSD. Photoshop file. So go ahead and do a file, save as, and you want to save this as your last name underscore, you know, if you want to shorten it, you can do EX1B. And then it's a PSD, Photoshop document. You save it on your desktop, say okay. Okay, and now the other thing you're going to want to know is some of you are working on Mac, some of you on PC. I want this to be compressed. So if you do a file, send to, archive, I want them all saved as zip files. I want that to be both from Mac or PC. If you're doing it from your desktop and it's a Mac, you're going to end up going to File, Compress, and it's going to end up zipping your file to compress it, and then you upload it to the JetNet submission link. Again, if you're on a PC, which most of you might be, you're going to want to do a file send to, or right click send to, archive, and everyone's system's set up differently, but I want them to be zip files, not RAR files. I want you to do your best at getting them to be compressed zip files. That's the expectation for this course. Okay, I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Contact me with any questions. I know sometimes I go quick. So, all right, see you soon.